Good evening. Welcome to another edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show, Red Pill Edition. My name is Leon Jones. And in this segment, I'm going to talk about education because there are a number of individuals out here who constantly brag about their degrees. Now, I want you to hear me and hear me loudly. I am not knocking anyone who has gone to college. I'm not knocking anyone who wants to go to college. I would be a hypocrite. Why? Because I went to college and I'm taking some courses right now so I can keep up with the technology. But when it comes to a number of individuals, when they have a degree, particularly a PhD, their ego is as big as a giant. Now, a PhD is a terminal degree. It takes a lot of work to get a PhD. It's a lot of research. What a PhD is just one type of degree. So, the title of this evening's video is college worth the money today? Is college worth the money today? Now, again, just like I presented earlier in this commentary, I believe college is something good if you utilize it. But there are a number of people who have gone to college and they don't use their degrees. And there have been some individuals who have gotten degrees in STEM, which stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. See, when you get a PhD, a number of individuals want to teach. But here's where the PhD is going to fall by the wayside. Number of colleges today, whether it be on the community college level or on a regular university level, they're hiring adjunct professors. I know I could be an adjunct professor because I have a master's degree to teach certain courses. You see, an adjunct professor has more real world knowledge than somebody with a PhD. Now, of course, they have what we call applicable doctorate degrees. I'll give you the name of some of them. There's a doctor in business administration, known as a DBA. There's a doctor of technology. Purdue University has a doctor of technology. Now, the difference between a doctor of technology and a PhD is the doctor of technology is based on real world application, and a PhD is based on theory. But both degrees require research. The problem is, get a number of individuals who get PhDs and they have this idea that they're smarter than the rest of us, which in reality, they're not. College is one form of education, folks. There are other ways you can get an education. You can go to the military. You can go to trade school. You can get a CDL. The real world is about the market. A college degree is a tool that's a minimum requirement to get in some fields. Now, something else that I need to put out there too. And shout out to Bernard Riley. Shout out to the lead attorney. Shout out to brother Little Big Nate. I was on a panel yesterday. And I know when it comes to a number of our women, the ABW, they love to brag about their degrees. There was one lady up there who was talking about her being a statistician. Let me tell you folks about statistics number one. You can utilize statistics any way you want. Statistics can be manipulated. Sources, number of individuals look up sources that agree with their argument. But in the long run, when you're going to utilize statistics, you have to look at the sample. You also have to look at how old that statistic is. And many of us who are in the African-American sector of YouTube, and I'm guilty of it as well, we're utilizing old statistics, but we're not questioning the statistic. And see, this is again what individuals don't do in college. They'll go get the paper, but they don't question the content behind the courses. And education costs a lot of money. It's a big investment. And a number of individuals who go to college come out with a lot of debt. So whether you have a AS degree, a BS degree, a BA degree, a PhD, you have to understand what you're going to college for. College is a big investment, just as I presented. But don't knock the individuals who are going after trades like HVAC, plumbing, electricians, construction. Those jobs are physical, but they also require a lot of brain work as well. You have to be able to use your hands. You're using application. Again, with the skilled trades, you have to take certification tests. And if you don't have the experience, you're not going to pass the test. One experience that I've always seen in college, and I had some PhDs who were professors. I know one from the school I graduated, Temple University. I took up civil engineering. And I was questioning him about the information he was putting on the board. I was in a structural analysis class. And he was going through the theory of the equation. And I said, well, what you're putting on the board, does it actually work? And I was pretty professional with my question. He was a little upset with me. He proceeded to give me a bad grade on a problem set that I did. But he didn't, because I was going to take it up. But you get some of these individuals who are your professors, they have PhDs. You ask them a question. Some of them don't want to be bothered. In fact, some of these colleges have TAs, which is a teacher's assistant, especially your bigger schools. The professor's up in his office, lounging around, making his $130,000 or more, while the TA, and the TA is important because the TA is a graduate student who is probably going for a PhD. So they have to teach a certain amount of classes. A number of you don't know that. The TAs are the ones that administer the labs, they administer the tests. The professor, depending on how large the school is going to have 400 people in a large auditorium. He's going to have a microphone when he's speaking to the class. Certainly, he has a big blackboard that he's writing his equations, or writing a date for history to remember. But when it comes to college, college is basically what you make it. But just because you get a college degree, it doesn't mean that you're smarter than somebody who doesn't have a college degree. And when you cite sources, it doesn't mean that the sources you cite are credible sources either. This is what, again, college doesn't teach you to question anything. But you have a number of academics, that's all they've done all their lives, but they can't get out in the real world and apply real world knowledge because they don't have it. And when you look at college today, it's more of an indoctrination type of form today because children really aren't learning. I've seen papers in college that were written by students who have the IQ of a snail. They can't write. Their writing looked as if they were texting. And here's an example. I went over somebody's paper. Instead of writing because, they wrote the word cuz, C-U-Z. They actually wrote as if they were speaking in a conversation from the hood. Now, I'm not saying everybody from the hood can't utilize the English language properly, but there are a number of individuals who haven't been taught how to spell, how to read, and how to properly utilize the English language. So if you can't utilize the English language orally, how are you going to communicate with or by writing a paper? But when it comes to college, I find that a number of people, and this is just my experience, who have the high degrees, didn't major in anything that was significant. Now, I'm going to exclude education because you need teachers, and I'm going to exclude law because even though there are a lot of lawyers out there, you're always going to need lawyers because there's something that's always coming to the forefront with law that somebody knows and somebody else doesn't know. There's all kinds of law just like engineering. But when it comes to degrees in history, sociology, anthropology, hospitality and tourism management, although hospitality and tourism management, you can actually break off and work in other career fields such as facilities management, human resources. You can also work as a property manager, which you have to have certain certifications. Hospitality and tourism management is a specialized management degree because it involves hands-on. There are laboratories that go with that major, just like construction management. Construction management is a mixture of architecture, building science or construction science, construction management, and of course, business. Construction management basically comes from architecture and civil engineering. But even when you have degrees in STEM, you should not be bragging about what your degree is. Like on that panel last night, on Little Big Nate's panel, a number of individuals were asking this young lady about statistics. She yelled out, "I'm a statistician, I have a PhD." Finding out later, and I listen to people, And I know when they're bullshitting about their education, because when it comes to statistics, again, let me repeat that again. When it comes to statistics, there's probability. So you have Poisson's principle. You also have mean, you have mode, and you have median. You have combinations. Like an example, what is the probability of me rolling a double six when it comes to dice? The odds are 1 in 36. Now, how did I come up with that? I square 1 and I square 6 because a cube has 6 sides. So when it comes to rolling dice, there are 36 combinations. That's where I came up with 1 in 36. Now, also with statistics, there's also factorials. I may have 1 and I'm going to have a fraction, 1 over the factorial 3, which when I calculate that, I'm going to get 1 over 6. Now, how did I come up with that? 1 and a factorial is 3 times 2 times 1. Now, I'm just giving you an example. That young lady was talking about statistics, but she wasn't telling you how she got the statistic. And I want you to know something. When you're dealing with statistics, again, they can be manipulated. I believe there's a conformity factor, 68, a 95, and a 98. There are histograms involved with statistics. Industrial engineering uses a lot of statistics. And an area industrial engineers, and an area that industrial engineers use statistics is known as SPC, statistical process control. That's when they deal with process charts. So please, that lady that was on Little Big Nate's show talking about statistics, care if you have a PhD, don't know anything about statistics. You know what you've been told, because that's what college is. You are basically regurgitating something that a professor has told you. You have a number of other individuals, journalism majors, who think they're smart. Those are easy degrees. Journalism has long been dead. The individuals think they're a genius because they have a doctor in journalism. Now, again, I'm not saying college is not worth the price, but it's how you use college. You don't berate somebody because they don't have a college degree. And just because you have a college degree, it doesn't make you perfect. No one is God. And in the end, a lot of you all who are going to school, getting education, don't understand that tuition costs keep rising. Now, here in Indiana, Ivy Tech and Purdue University freeze their tuition. However, when the government is giving colleges all this financial aid, college is a business, it becomes a business. You have a number of people who haven't paid their loans back. Now, again, the question that I'm going to get right back on is college worth the price? That's a subjective answer because it depends on what you're majoring in. Now, if you want to go to college, I'm going to give you these two options that can save you a lot of money. and you don't have to take out loans. Number one, you can go into the military. I know the Air Force has its own community college. If you make rank in the military, you get college credits for certain courses. You can get an associate's degree almost free in the Air Force. The Navy and the Marines and in the Army and in the Coast Guard, it's a little harder because you're always on the move. And you're on the move because you have to deploy. With the Navy, when I was on a ship, had courses as well. The courses were free. And if you made rank, you're going to, again, get yourself a lot of college credits. And even going into the military, if you sit down with a recruiter and you're enlisting, you have to see if the recruiter is going to give you something that you qualify for. And I say that because when you go in the military, two things happen, particularly at the recruiting station. You take an ASVAB test, and you have to have a certain score, a QFT. And if you're getting an MOS, an AFSC, or a rating, that specific rating, you have to meet certain requirements. Like you may have to have a certain score in mathematics. This is how you get the job you want. And you've got to be careful with these recruiters, because recruiters are also trying to make quota. So they want to put you in something that's open because it makes them look good. But that's the military. The other way, you can go straight to a community college. In fact, if you're deficient in high school, they have remedial colleges at a community college. You can reset yourself. And if you go to a community college and get an associate's degree, that associate's degree is transferable to a four-year institution. Now, again, it depends on what it's in. Now, I can only give you Ivy Tech because I live here in Indiana. If you get an AS degree in mechanical engineering technology, you automatically transfer to Purdue University as a junior, and you can get a four-year degree for half the cost because you've already completed 2 years. If you go to UIPUI, which is Indiana University, Purdue University, Indianapolis, Ivy Tech has a 2+2 program in construction management, which again means you take 2 years at Ivy Tech, and then you transfer to IUPUI, and you get a four-year degree. Those are some ways you can go to college without having a lot of debt. In fact, Ivy Tech has a tuition payment plan. And this year at Ivy Tech, textbooks are free. College tuition is fixed. But again, when you go to college, you have a PhD, you have an MS, an MA, a BS, or BA. It's a nice achievement. But the problem with a number of degrees is also gives you the illusion that you're going to make a lot of money. And a number of times the juice is not worth the squeeze because you end up with a lot of debt. I mean, I know engineers who have come out of college and they just hit the $70,000 a year mark. College is very demanding. And I know there's some people out there, when the going gets tough, they think going back to school is going to help them. No, it's not going to help you. You need to gain experience out there. You need to understand how the real world works. College is a minimum requirement to get a job. College education is a tool. It's not the end all, be all. And when you have a degree, don't think you can't learn from somebody who doesn't have a degree. Don't think you can't learn from somebody who's been doing the trade. Because there are plenty of individuals out there who make more money doing trades than a PhD or MS or BS student. Now, I'm just going to show you this. Let me try to share my screen here. And this is fair use. This is an article from collegefactual.com. Is college still worth the investment? Well, looking at this article, and I'll read you some of the information from it, starting with every parent. Now, every parent wants to do the most they can do to set their children up for success. Some say it isn't worth it because college, again, is too expensive. But according to the National Center of Educational Statistics, there's that word statistics. I want to know where the statistical sample comes up to get the number. But the NCES says the typical bachelor's degree holder earns roughly $18,500 more per year than those with just a high school diploma. That is just the average of a 7% rate of return on a degree. So you're paying a lot of money and you're only getting a rate or an ROI of 7%. Now, of course, with a college degree, if you enjoy what you are doing, you'll be happy with your work. Now, you have to understand this. A college education is much more than just a ticket to a better career. It's an enriching experience that's going to allow students the chance to grow, learn, and explore and challenge themselves like something else. That's true and that's not true. It just depends on what field you're going in. But with all the positive experiences that you get with college, you get a hefty price tag and you get a risk. Why is that? Because you get some students who go to school for a while and they just don't graduate. Or if they graduate, they're overloaded with debt. So the positive outcome that you feel is all negated. Now, here is a reason why some families are rethinking college. Now, again, these are statistics, and I do not like quoting statistics. And the reason why I don't like quoting statistics is I don't know what the sample is. I don't know where they're getting their numbers. Now, if they're getting them from the census, those are pretty good statistics. But from this article, we're going to just go with it just to give you an idea of why families are rethinking college. It says in this article, and this article is under collegefactual.com, and I will leave the link under my video when I complete this video because it's very important, because college is going to be starting for some people for the fall at the end of August. Now let's get back to the article. Any article says only 32% of college graduates or college students graduate in 4 years, while an additional 17% are able to graduate within 6 years. About 43% of students graduate from the same college where they start. So that's under half. The 32% is way under half. It's almost 7 in 10 don't graduate in 4 years. Now, about 30% of the freshmen don't return for their sophomore year. 76% of students change their major at least once, while 50% change their major at least twice. And I'm one who's changed my major quite a few times because I was trying to utilize my outside experience. It didn't work. Now, at the average college, 49% of the faculty are teaching on a part-time basis. That might be now, but it used to be a number of the professors were tenured. I always say adjunct professors are better professors because adjunct professors teach you the real world instead of the theory. Now, going back 6 years to the year 2015, graduates of the class of 2015 left school with an average of $30,000 of debt. Now, you think about it, you get a degree that's useless and it pays you $30,000. Well, first of all, you have to find out what type of job you're going to get with a humanities degree. And that job starts you off with $30,000. It's going to take you a long time to pay $30,000 off. Now, here's what some students will do after that. Well, I'm not getting paid enough money in my job, so I'm going to go get a master's degree. So you're going to be even in more debt. And you remember this, the hourly wage, or let's say the average hourly wage for college students has risen only 1% over the last decade. So basically, hourly wages basically are stagnating. And when it comes to inflation, college costs tend to rise. So again, when it comes to rising costs, according to the Pew Research Survey, public opinion regarding colleges and universities has taken a negative turn. Although support for higher education is sharply divided by partisan politics, the number of Republican leading respondents who support higher education has drastically fallen since 2015. Only 30%, correction, only 36% of polled Republicans believe higher education has a positive effect on our country. This is a drastic fall from 2010 to where 50%, or let's say almost 60% of Republicans supported higher ed. Now, before I go on, I want you to like this video. I want you to subscribe to my channel, and I want you to share this video because when it comes to education, nobody is giving it to you here on YouTube like I'm giving it to you, because what you're hearing, I've already been through. Also, not asking you to do it. At the bottom, I have the Cash App. You can donate if you wish to $LEJ 0102 1965. Not asking you to, but click on the link, support this channel. Because again, not too many people are giving you this kind of material. Now, let's move on. Now, when it comes to the Gallup poll, similar results were found. And respondents were asked what their level of confidence is in the higher education system. So only 33% of Republicans had quite a lot or a great deal of confidence in the system, while Democrat-leaning individuals have traditionally been proponents of higher education because it is especially worrisome to college administrators that the federal and many state governments are run by a majority of Republicans. Another thing to worry about is the rising cost of obtaining a degree. Now, according to the National Financial Capability Study, which was carried out in 2016, student debt is a rising concern. Over half of the respondents said that they would take a different course of action when it came to taking out student loans if they had a chance to do it again. Worse yet, nearly 30%, that's 3 in 10, it's a good batting average in baseball, but it's still failure. But nearly 30% of respondents indicated that they did not complete their program for which they took out a student loan. Now, with public support flailing and rising costs, does it really make sense to attend college after high school? Now, in many instances, the answer is still yes. Now, that only depends on the type of degree. Now, if you're going to go for science, technology, engineering, and math, that's where you should go get a degree in law or education. Now, of course, you're always told that education is investment. However, college students won't see returns on their education dollars for at least 4 to 6 years, eventually outpacing a high school grad by age 34. So when it comes to college, many people tend to think of college as a means to an end, getting a good paying job, but instead, people should think of college as a long-term investment. Why is that? Because let's talk about the stocks. If you put money into the stock market tomorrow, you wouldn't expect to immediately begin reaping the benefits. The same goes for college. So after completing college, bachelor's degree recipients earn an average of $24,000 more than high school graduates, according to Education Pays 2016, a report by the College Board. Now, although some people argue that high school graduates who begin work immediately after graduation will get a leg up on somebody attending college, the college graduate will soon catch up and outpace lifetime earnings of the higher school graduate by age 34. Now, I think that's false. And here's why. If that high school graduate gets a trade, learns that trade, gets certified with that trade, and then opens up a business, that high school graduate is still going to outpace that college graduate, because a college graduate is basically going to work to make someone else rich. See, college does not teach entrepreneurship. College teaches theory. A college degree, like I said before, is a minimum requirement to get a job. Now, moving on. The Education Pays report also clarifies that while pay will generally be higher for a college graduate than a high school graduate, the pay difference will vary based on the type of work the person goes into after graduation. For example, the pay difference between a general office worker with a high school diploma and degree holder will be small, while somebody working in an engineering field will see a much larger difference. Now, why is that? because engineering is number one, it's more in demand. And number two, engineering is mathematics based. You can get somebody to work in the office, but everybody does not come out to be an engineer because, first of all, number of individuals cannot pass calculus. They cannot pass calculus-based physics. They cannot pass calculus-based chemistry. In fact, when you go into an engineering program at some of these bigger schools, they're going to try to weed you out. So the professors in engineering curriculums make engineering a lot more difficult than it is. Now, something else you need to understand. A lack of a college degree could also make it harder to obtain a job. Now, again, that's according to the Education Pays report. Now, I don't know where they get their information from. I'm just utilizing this article. But again, they say individuals with a bachelor's degree historically had about half the unemployment rate of somebody with a high school diploma. Now, again, that depends on where they're working. Now, let me tell you this. Some of these individuals who have college degrees are working in jobs that high school students normally would be working in because the college student couldn't find a job. So when a college student can't find a job and they're working in a position that's basically required for somebody with a high school diploma, what does that do to the person with a high school diploma? That raises the unemployment rate for the person with the high school diploma because that person with a college degree is basically overqualified, but that person with a college degree simply cannot find a job that he or she went to school for. Always remember that. So when it comes to getting a college degree, I'm not putting college down, but just because you have a college degree, it doesn't make you smarter than somebody who doesn't have a college degree. And again, when it comes to citing statistics, when it comes to citing sources, know where those sources came from. Understand that statistics can be skewed. This is why I don't like quoting statistics. If you really want to get a good statistic, look around you in the real world. Look what's happening in the media. You don't need a statistics. You don't need a statistic to find that you have a lot of black on black crime going on in the city of Chicago and Baltimore and New York and Houston and LA because you hear about it every day. You don't need a statistic. And you also can look in the cities that have a high crime rate. They also have a high poverty rate. That's common sense. See, college doesn't teach you common sense. Again, it only teaches you theory. Now, all that I said about college, how can you save money? Well, here are some ways that you can make a college education work for your child and family. Now, if a child needs to avoid or minimize student debt, as everybody should, this is what you need to do. Consider having your child take college level courses in high school. Now, I know some who have done it, but not everybody is smart enough to get into college prep courses. And that's going to depend on the high school and the state government. But if you can do that, a high school student may be able to earn up to 2 years of college credit. Now, what's 2 years of college credit? That's a sophomore year. That's equivalent to an associate's degree. Now, of course, this does require a lot of study time. And with that study time, you need to be producing excellent grades. Now, also, too, a reason why some students don't graduate is because they don't complete the gen ed courses on time. So if you can get into some of the college gen ed courses while you're in high school, you can get them out of the way free of charge. Now, if college credit isn't possible during high school, consider having your child attend a community college for the first 2 years of their program. Why? This is very simple because community colleges are generally much less expensive than a 4-year degree as long as credits transfer. That's another thing you need to look at. All colleges don't have the same college course transfer policy. I can tell you here in Indiana, Indiana State is pretty liberal with college credits, while IU and Purdue, you basically have to walk a plank to get college credits transferred into those institutions. In fact, at Purdue, you may not even be able to transfer a credit into that institution if it's over 10 years old. So that means you might have to take it again. So you have to be leery of the transfer policy when you have a mind on going to one college and you can't get in. And then SAT scores, ACT scores. I don't even know if they still have those types of tests. If your score is low, you may not get into those colleges. Now, here's something else that you need to know. College work-study programs. Well, they can reduce the cost of attendance. However, they don't really pay a lot. But in order to get in any type of work-study program, your child must qualify for financial aid. Now, the thing about financial aid or getting a Pell Grant, you have to look poor. So you take your EFC, which stands for Estimated Family Contribution. You want to make that real low because the poorer you look, the more money you get. And with a Pell Grant, you don't have to pay it back. And I believe you get a maximum per semester of $3,750. So you get a total of $6,500 per year. That's what I was getting when I was going to school. Could have changed by now, but I'm giving you my number. Now, get to the final part. Student can get scholarships, but they have to qualify for scholarships. Not everybody can get a scholarship. In fact, some scholarships take research. Got to be willing to do the work. So what I'm here to do is tell you that college is worth the investment if you know how to apply your trade to the real world. If you're just going to school to brag that you're getting a BS, an MS, a PhD, you're wasting your time because you're no smarter than a Joe Blow who has no degree. Again, a college degree can get your foot in the door, but a job is not guaranteed. So in the long run, you have to think about what you want to do when it comes to a career. But college doesn't make you smarter. You still have to apply common sense. And there are too many people that boast about their degree, but for the most part, they're working for somebody. And when you work for somebody, you're lucky to get a 2% raise every year. Now, if you're going to be working for something, work for a government agency, the benefits are generally better. But you don't get rich by working for the government. In the long run, if you're going to get skills, Get the hands-on skills that are marketable, like plumbing, truck driving, HVAC, be an electrician, be a mechanic. Those jobs will always be in demand. And you can always get a business. You don't necessarily have to put on a suit and work in the corporate world. That's all a myth too. But in the end, when it comes to college, there are going to be areas where the juice isn't worth the squeeze. And that's because you went into something that was very useless. You couldn't find a job. You just wanted to take the easy way out to get a degree, to say you have a degree. And then you go back because your baccalaureate degree in something was very saturated. So you wanted to get a master's degree. That was saturated. So you wanted to get a PhD. In the long run, you spend 8 to 10 years going to school and you have a lot of debt and you still have no job. So you wasted your time. That's not smart. Yeah, you got the paper and a bad investment. So again, I am not criticizing college. I went to college. If you're going to go to college, make sure you get into something that's marketable. Now, if you can't go directly to college after high school, check out the military, check out trades. It's nothing wrong with them. If anybody puts you down because you're going into a trade, particularly these boulets out here who have degrees in bullshit like religious studies, philosophy, sociology, anthropology, history. I mean, some of the classes from those majors are good in the curriculum, but what are you going to get with those? Because everybody can't get into law school. But if you're going to school for interdisciplinary studies and general studies, you're wasting time. You're not smart. You got a piece of paper. But a real profession is something that you can do with your hands or do with your brain, and you have to have a certification for. Like if you are an HVAC, go get your 608 or 609. If you're an engineer, get your PE. If you're an architect, get your RA. If you're a landscape architect, get your RLA. Because again, when it comes to education, it's your future. It's your choice. And that's my commentary for this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. If you like what I just presented, please comment, share, and subscribe. And if you are looking for some opportunities in STEM, I can get you there. You check out my second channel, The Mind of STEM. On that channel, I give you a daily dose of science, technology, engineering, and math. And if you want to get into some hardcore topics, check out my Blog Talk radio show. Now, lately, I have experimented with Zoom and Blog Talk Radio. It's working, and I'm going to continue to do that. I'm going to learn how to utilize StreamYard, and I may do panels. I'm still a person that enjoys doing content and camming up. That way you can see who I am, and you know I believe in what I'm saying. You don't have to agree with this information. Just listen to it. And get the likes up on all of my videos. My content is just as good as everybody else's content, if not better. I may not have the equipment, the setup, but I don't need that. I got the knowledge and experience to let you know where I am coming from. And if you can't find me on YouTube or Blog Talk Radio, you can simply check me out on Twitter, MeWe, and of course, Parler. And I'm not asking you to do this. You can donate as well. My Cash App link is at the bottom of all of my videos. And in the end, I'm going to leave you with this. Be blessed for what you have. Don't worry about what you don't have. Always know that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. And something else to add with this video and other videos that I do, so you don't get your feelings hurt, because we have a lot of oversensitive people out here. If it doesn't apply, let it fly. But if the shoe fits, wear it. If you don't like the shoe, change it. Once again, thank you for listening to this edition of the 401 Talk Zone radio show. Till next time, my name is Leon Jones. I want you all to have a wonderful and gracious evening here on the last day of June 30th, 2021. My name is Leon Jones. Please have a wonderful and gracious evening. God bless you. I'm out.